What is popping, everybody? My name is Eden, and welcome back to the Retro Fashion Tarot channel. We are going to be doing part 2 of unboxing the second half of the Greek gods and goddesses today. If you did enjoy the previous video, which is part 1, do go check that out, by the way. It was quite the doozy to start us off. Without much further ado, I don't really suppose there's much else to do, but just jump right on into this. I hope you guys are going to enjoy this, and yeah. Bear in mind, I have not looked at these cards. This is going to be just as big a surprise for me as it is for you guys. Here we go. Zeus's Thunderbolt. Okay. So this is a card that we also have in the other deck, the deck that is actually right here in this bag. But this shows him on top of Mount Olympus instead, casting down judgment from the heavens, per se, if you will. This shows him in his prime, ready to cast down judgment on some puny mortal, as he would call it. Let's see what's next. The Oracle's Dream. Okay. Interesting. So, we all know of oracles, the people who tell the future, we're tarot readers. Technically, we ourselves are oracles in our own way. Now, the oracle's dream would sort of signify something along the lines of a premonition. A dream of the future that hasn't happened yet. I've had plenty of those in my time. It does happen. And, this shows the oracle, I believe at Delphi, dreaming of the future. Dreaming of things that are yet to come. It'd be pretty scary when those things come to light, because some of them aren't so good. In fact, many of them in the Greek mythos were not so good. What's next? The Phoenix's Rebirth. Interesting. Now, here's the thing. The Phoenix isn't necessarily a Greek-only kind of legend. It's a legend that pervades throughout many pantheons. The Phoenix is, kind of universal in many aspects. And I think we all know what the Phoenix represents. Revival, transformation, immortality. I suppose the Phoenix is technically immortal because every time he grows old, he bursts into flames, dies, and is reborn from the ashes. That's what the Phoenix is all about. Rebirth. Change. Everything like that. Let's see here. What's next? The Voyage of Odysseus. Journey, Perseverance, and Homecoming. Wow. Okay. So, Odysseus had a rather tragic tale indeed. If I remember the legend correctly, he, alongside Theseus, set out to slay the Minotaur in the Labyrinth, which was, home to Dallas Minos' little killing chamber, that sort of thing. And he did succeed. And then he did come home. And his people did not welcome him, unfortunately. They had been told lies about him. They saw him in a whole different light. And he was cast out into exile. Poor fella. He didn't deserve it. But, then again, most Greek heroes end up with tragic endings. To be honest, Odysseus probably got one of the lighter sentences. Let's see what's next. The Midas Touch. Midas's touch. Wealth, consequence, and desire. Okay then. So, I'm sure we've all heard of, people who have the quote-unquote Midas touch. Well, this is Midas himself. This is the man with the golden touch. He got to make a wish with one of the gods. I don't know how he did it. It's just a legend. He got to make a wish with one of the gods, and he wished for anything that he wanted to touch to be turned into gold. And so it was. Anything he touched with his hands, poof, gold. And this made him very wealthy and very powerful indeed. But with great power, as they say, comes great responsibility. And unfortunately, Midas was quite unaware of just how far his powers extended at first. And so he made the mistake of turning literally everything around him to gold. His children turned into gold. His kingdom turned into gold. And eventually, he himself was turned into gold. Such was the curse of the golden touch. And a rather tough curse indeed. Let's see what's next. The Trojan horse. I know, we all know this legend. The Trojan horse. The one that got snuck into Troy and how Troy fell. You all know the legend of the Trojan horse, I'm sure. You know, a bunch of people hidden inside a massive horse statue. They brought the horse statue in, the warriors burst out, the kingdom fell. Simple as that. We've all heard of Trojan horses. You know, they're used in viruses and stuff like that. But, you know, this is where it originated in the ancient Greek mythos. The Trojan horse is a Greek legend, believe it or not. Well, Roman, technically. Roman, Greek. They're kind of opposite sides of the same coin, really. Let's see what's next. Demeter's Harvest. Okay, so we do have this card as well in the other deck. And if you want to see my first unboxing of the first half of the Greek gods, that should be towards the beginning of this channel. So do check that out if you guys would like to see some of the cards that I do mention in this video. But no, yes, this is Demeter's Harvest after she's completed her harvest. This shows her basking in the bounty of her harvest. This shows her all her crops around her enjoying, you know, the fruits of her labors. She is a goddess after all. She has to treat herself. So, yeah, that's Demeter's Harvest. See what's next. Athena's Wisdom. Okay. So we do have a card similar to this in the other deck, the Wisdom of Athena. This shows the goddess herself. Well, the other one shows the goddess herself, but this shows, I'd say, the goddess herself more prominently with her owl actually hanging on her shoulder. Her owl is her sign. If you ever see an owl out there somewhere, you know, in the forest maybe, that's her giving you her blessing. And it's a kind of intelligence, strategy, and clarity. If you have the Wisdom of Athena, there is almost nothing you cannot do. Almost nothing you cannot do. Let's see what's next. The Veil of Nyx. Darkness, Mystery, and Night. Now, we do have a card similar to this one as well in the other deck, Nyx's Starlit Veil. This, however, shows a different side of it. This shows where the light meets the darkness. This shows where the light ends and Nyx's realm begins. The goddess of night, the primordial goddess of night, mind you. Because Artemis is the goddess of the moon. She's not actually the goddess of the night. Nyx is the goddess of night, as her name would kind of imply. Nyx is kind of associated with darkness, black, that sort of thing. And this shows the primordial goddess herself, you know, rising from her domain to do God knows what. Or perhaps I should say, gods know what. Next up, we have technically the Golden Fleece. Though in this card, they call it the Fleece of Chrysomelos. Wealth, purity, and quest. This shows a much clearer version of the Golden Fleece. This shows, you know, the riches part of the Golden Fleece. This shows not the healing part, the wealth part. If you were to sell the Golden Fleece, it would be worth 100 million times its weight in gold. And believe me, this thing was not small, nor was it, thin. This was thick fleece of pure gold with healing properties worthy even of the god Apollo himself. You can imagine how much that would be worth. Let's see what's next. Pan's Forest Revelry. Very interesting. So in the other deck, we do have a card called Pan's Symphony. This, however, shows the god with company, hanging out with some of the forest nymphs and the naiads and the dryads, basically enjoying, the freedom of nature and the wild and everything like that. It's a card of nature, celebration, and wildness. And a very, very nice card indeed, I must say. Let's see what's next. The Cyclops Eye. Wow. Okay. So, this card doesn't show it so well, but Cyclops are born with only one eye, right in the center of their head. Basically, where you think your third eye would be, that's where the Cyclops eye is. And, Cyclops can't see very well most of the time, unfortunately. They see some things we can't, but most of the time, because they have only one eye, their depth perception's a little bit off. They've only got one eye to work with, after all. But when they do focus in on something, believe me, there is no stopping them. It's a card of focus, misunderstanding, and strength. Because believe me, Cyclops are very strong. Let's see what's next. Narcissist's Reflection. This is the card I mentioned in the previous video. We have one just like this in the other deck. Although this one kind of shows it a lot more clearly. This shows him at the end of his life, staring back at his own reflection, loving himself so much that he could not stop staring. Self-love, obsession, and caution. Because it is a cautionary tale. Don't get too much ego, folks. It will kill you. Just like it did for him. Let's see what's next. The Labyrinth of Minos. Another view of the Labyrinth of Minos. This is actually our fourth Labyrinth card in total, considering the other deck. Oh, it's the first one in this second half. Challenge, mystery, and journey. It shows the Minotaur on top of it as well. Although, not the greatest depiction of the Minotaur, because the Minotaur is supposed to be half bull, half human. Human half on top, bull half on bottom, essentially. Let's see what we got next. Poseidon's Realm. Now, in the previous part of this little mini-series we have going on here, I showed the card of Poseidon being quite upset. His wrath, the wrath of the god of the sea. This card right here, shows him in his element. This card shows him basically just chilling out in the ocean, commanding the seas as he would of a god. It's a card of emotion, death, and instinct. He is in his realm, so he does get dominion over everything in it. All the animals, all the waters, and all the people traversing it. So if you are traveling out there on the sea right now, any of y'all, do me a favor and send a quick prayer to Poseidon for safe travels, because he may just bless your travels with good hauls. And next up, we have the Ambrosia of Olympus. Now this is a rather unique part of the Greek legends. Ambrosia and nectar, the food and drinks of the gods. God food, essentially. And here's the thing. Only the gods and their children, the demigods, could eat ambrosia. The gods can eat as much as they dang well please. They're gods. The food was made for them. And it tastes like whatever they want it to taste like. As for demigods, The demigods can only have a certain amount before, shall we say, some spontaneous combustion begins to occur. And mortals, well, if any mortal was trying to eat some ambrosia or drink some nectar, well, let's just say they would end up off a lot worse than the demigods or the gods. One-way trip to Hades. Not a fun time. All right, I think one thing's off there. Thank you all so much for watching, and stay tuned tomorrow for part 3 and part 4 of this unboxing of the second half of the Olympian gods and their legends. Don't forget to leave a like, subscribe, turn on notifications so you don't miss a single video of mine. We're trying to get to 1,000 subscribers, folks. Wild numbers to me. Absolutely wild. Thank you all for watching, and have an amazing, amazing rest of your day. Peace.